The midnight dress told me everything I needed to know. Bree stood in our bedroom mirror, adjusting the little black number she'd worn exactly twice before, both times to company parties where Lennon Brasken held court like some small-town real estate king. "Emergency meeting," she said, not looking at me. "Lennon needs me to handle the Morrison contract tonight." I kept my face neutral, scrolling through my phone like I cared more about sports scores than my wife's obvious lies. "Midnight meeting, huh? That's dedication. You know how important this promotion is, Porter." Her voice had that edge it got when she was building her story. Regional manager doesn't just happen. I have to prove myself. Through our bedroom window, I watched her car's GPS glow blue in the darkness. Highway 6 motel. Real classy venue for a business meeting, I thought, but kept that observation to myself. "Sure thing, honey. Good luck with that contract." She kissed my forehead like I was her faithful dog and clicked out in heels that cost more than my weekly construction salary. The garage door rumbled shut, and I counted to 30 before moving. My locked study contained 3 months of careful documentation, screenshots of text messages she thought she'd hidden, hotel receipts tucked in her purse, location data from the family phone plan that showed every late-night detour to cheap motels and Lennon's upscale Silver Pines neighborhood. The folder labeled Brasken Logs contained enough evidence to end 2 marriages and probably Lennon's reputation as Millbrook's golden boy developer. But evidence was just the beginning. I'd learned patience working construction. You don't swing the hammer until you've measured twice and positioned everything perfectly. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a contact I'd never used. Aven Brasken, Lennon's wife of 15 years, mother of his twin daughters, and according to town gossip, the brains behind his business success. My finger hovered over the call button. One tap would detonate everything Bree and Lennon thought they'd built in secret. The question wasn't whether I'd make the call. It was whether I'd enjoy watching the explosion. I pressed dial. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Mrs. Brasken? This is Porter Kellor. I think we need to talk about our spouses." Aven's voice was steady, unsurprised. I wondered when someone would finally call. "How long have you known?" 3 months of solid proof. Tonight they're at the Highway 6 motel, room 12. "Room 12. She repeated it like she was writing it down. "Thank you, Porter. I'll handle this." The line went quiet, but I could hear her thinking. Aven Brasken had a reputation around town, sharp as a blade, tougher than her husband, despite his bluster. If anyone could make Lennon sweat, it was her. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from Bree. "Meeting running late. Don't wait up." I almost laughed. She'd even staged a fake photo of Lennon's office building, probably taken weeks ago and saved for just this purpose. The attention to detail might have impressed me if it wasn't being used to cover her tracks while she wrecked our marriage. My phone rang. Reed, my best friend and the most reliable guy I knew. "You sound too calm for a man whose wife is cheating," he said without preamble. "Who says I'm calm? I'm strategic. There's a difference." "What do you need?" "Meet me at the Rusty Lantern in an hour, and bring your truck." The Rusty Lantern sat on Millbrook's main drag like a confession booth for the working class. Dark wood, neon beer signs, and enough gossip to fuel a small city. Reed was already there when I arrived, nursing a beer and eyeing me with curiosity. "So, what's the plan, genius?" Before I could answer, my phone exploded with calls. Bree's name flashed on the screen 5 times before I answered. "Porter!" Her voice was pure panic. "I'm coming home. Something terrible happened." "What kind of terrible?" I'll explain when I get there. Don't go anywhere." She hung up, and Reed raised an eyebrow. "That sounded promising." "Aven Brasken works fast." 30 minutes later, Bree burst through our front door like a hurricane. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, her perfect hair disheveled, and that expensive dress wrinkled beyond repair. "Porter, I can explain everything." I was sitting at our kitchen table, her phone and a manila envelope positioned precisely in front of me. "Can you? Because I'm really curious about your explanation." She froze when she saw the evidence. Photos from the motel, screenshots of her text messages, a printed timeline of every lie she'd told over the past 3 months. "How did you get this?" I slid the separation agreement across the table. "Turns out I'm smarter than you thought. Also turns out your boss's wife is smarter than both of us." Bree collapsed into the chair across from me, her composure finally cracking completely. "Porter, please. It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "How was it supposed to happen, Bree? You and Lennon were just going to keep meeting at cheap motels until what? I figured it out? Or until you decided I wasn't useful anymore?" She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled back. "It's not about you. It's about my career, my future, your future. Right." I stood up, grabbed my jacket. "Well, your future just got a lot more complicated. Sign the papers or don't. I'll be at the bar." As I walked toward the door, she called after me. "Where are we supposed to go from here?" I paused, hand on the doorknob. "You're supposed to figure that out with your boss, assuming his wife doesn't end him first." The next morning brought consequences faster than I'd expected. Reed showed up at my construction site with coffee and a grin that promised trouble. "Your wife's car is still parked at Brasken's office," he said. "Funny thing about that." "Funny how?" "Funny like she left it there all night and now it's got a parking ticket. Also funny like Brasken's Porsche has a nice big scratch down the side that wasn't there yesterday." I sipped my coffee and considered this development. Aven works fast. "Want to work faster? What did you have in mind?" Reed's plan was elegant in its simplicity. Bree's car was legally mine, both our names on the title, both of us on the insurance. If she'd abandoned it in a private parking lot overnight, well, that was just poor decision-making on her part. We hooked her sedan to Reed's tow truck during lunch break and hauled it to my construction yard. Nothing illegal about reclaiming your own property, especially when your wife had used it to facilitate her affair. I spent an enjoyable hour disconnecting the battery, removing a few key fuses, and installing a small device Reed had picked up from his mechanic buddy, a remote-controlled stink bomb that would make the interior smell like rotten eggs whenever activated. Her designer clothes, still in the trunk from whatever overnight bag she'd packed, got locked away in my side office. Let her explain to her friends why she was suddenly shopping at discount stores. But the real masterpiece was happening at the Rusty Lantern that evening. Maggie Henderson, Bree's supposed best friend, was holding court at the bar with an audience of eager listeners. "I always knew something was off," Maggie was saying as I walked in. "Bree's been acting so secretive lately in those clothes. Please, we all know Porter's salary." I slid onto a bar stool and ordered a beer, letting Maggie's voice carry across the room. She was describing Bree's affair in vivid detail, sharing secrets that Bree had trusted her with during their weekly coffee dates. "She called Lennon her career advancement opportunity," Maggie continued, "said Porter was holding her back, that she deserved better than a construction worker." The bartender, Mike, shook his head in disgust. "That's cold, even for Bree." I pulled out my phone and sent Maggie a text from an anonymous number. "Ask her about the motel receipts in her purse. Room 12 is their favorite." Maggie's eyes lit up as she read the message. Within minutes, she was sharing details I hadn't even known, specific dates, times, even the fake stories Bree had crafted to cover her tracks. My phone rang. Bree again. "Porter, where is my car?" "Your car? Don't play games with me. It's gone from Lennon's office, and I know you took it. Funny thing about that car, Bree. Turns out both our names are on the title. Funny thing about marriage, we actually share property. I need my clothes. I need my car. I have to work tomorrow." "Work. Right. How's that going, by the way? I heard Lennon had some trouble with his wife last night." The silence stretched long enough that I thought she'd hung up. "Porter, please, can we just talk about this like adults?" "We tried that last night. You chose to lie instead. Now you get to live with the consequences." I hung up and ordered another beer. Around me, Maggie was still talking, and the crowd was still listening. By tomorrow, everyone in Millbrook would know exactly what Bree Kellor and Lennon Brasken had been doing in their spare time. Phase 2 was just getting started. The annual Millbrook Harvest Festival arrived like a gift from the revenge gods. Main Street blocked off, the whole town gathered in one place, and plenty of opportunities for public confrontation. I found Lennon at his company's booth, looking haggard and desperate. His usual smooth confidence had evaporated, replaced by the hunted look of a man whose world was collapsing. "Porter." He tried to sound casual. "How are you holding up?" "Better than you, apparently. How's married life treating you these days?" His face flushed red. "Look, what happened between Bree and me? It wasn't supposed to go this far." "Wasn't supposed to go this far? You mean you weren't supposed to get caught?" People were starting to notice our conversation. Lennon glanced around nervously, probably calculating how many potential clients were within earshot. "Can we discuss this somewhere private?" "Private? Like room 12 at the Highway 6 motel? That kind of private?" His face went pale. "Porter, please." "Please what? Please pretend my wife wasn't meeting you there twice a week for 3 months? Please pretend you weren't promising her a promotion in exchange for services rendered?" A small crowd had gathered now, pretending to browse the festival booths while straining to hear every word. I recognized faces from the rusty lantern, people who'd already heard Maggie's version of events. "You don't understand the situation," Lennon said, his voice rising. "I understand perfectly. You thought you could take whatever you wanted because you're the big-shot developer and I'm just a construction worker. You thought wrong." Lennon stepped closer, trying to intimidate me with his height advantage. "You need to back off, Porter. You're making a scene." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, you're the one who made the scene. I'm just commenting on it." That's when Reed appeared with perfect timing, pushing a wheelbarrow full of fresh manure from the petting zoo. He'd volunteered to help with festival cleanup, which gave him access to all sorts of interesting materials. "Oops," Reed said as he stumbled, sending the wheelbarrow's contents flying directly onto Lennon's pristine Porsche. The crowd gasped, then started laughing as the smell hit them. Lennon spun around, furious, and took a swing at Reed. But Reed was ready, stepping aside smoothly as Lennon's momentum carried him face first into the mess covering his car. People were pulling out phones now, recording everything. Lennon Brasken, Millbrook's golden boy, covered in manure and screaming like a child having a tantrum. "You planned this!" he shouted at me. "Planned what? Your affair with my wife? No, that was all you." Bree appeared then, pushing through the crowd in a desperate attempt to reach Lennon. But she slipped on the mess, landing hard on her backside in a puddle of festival mud. The crowd's laughter doubled. Here were Millbrook's 2 most ambitious social climbers, literally covered in manure and mud, while half the town recorded their humiliation. "This isn't over," Bree hissed at me as Reed helped her to her feet with exaggerated courtesy. "You're right," I said. "It's not." From across the crowd, I caught sight of Aven Brasken watching the whole scene with a satisfied smile. She raised her coffee cup in a small salute before disappearing back into the festival crowd. The best part was yet to come. 3 days after the festival, Bree tried one last desperate gambit. She broke into my home office while I was supposedly at work, trying to steal the evidence files I'd compiled. But I wasn't at work. I was waiting in the garage with Reed and a video camera. We caught her red-handed, rifling through my desk drawers and stuffing papers into a bag. The look on her face when we walked in was worth every sleepless night I'd spent planning this moment. "Find what you were looking for?" I asked. She straightened up, trying to regain some dignity. These are my personal documents, too. Really? Because that looks like my phone bill you're stealing, and those bank statements, and the motel receipts that prove your affair. Reed was filming everything, making sure to capture her clearly identifiable face and the stolen documents in her hands. Porter, we can work this out. We don't have to destroy each other. Destroy each other? Bree, you already tried to destroy me. This is just me returning the favor. She dropped the papers and tried a different approach, moving closer with that seductive smile she thought still worked on me. Remember when we were happy? Remember what we meant to each other? I remember what I thought we meant to each other. Turns out I was wrong about a lot of things. When seduction failed, she tried threats. You think you're so clever, but you have no idea what you're dealing with. Lennon has connections. He can make your life very difficult. Lennon? I laughed. Have you talked to Lennon lately? Because last I heard, he was sleeping in his office since Aven changed the locks on their house. Her face crumpled as the reality hit her. Lennon wasn't going to save her. He couldn't even save himself. Get out, Bree. Take whatever clothes you can carry and get out. She left, but not quietly. The whole neighborhood heard her screaming threats and promises of revenge as she loaded her remaining possessions into a taxi. That evening, Reed and I met Aven at the construction yard for the final act. She'd brought documents of her own, divorce papers, financial records, and a folder full of Lennon's business communications that painted him as either incompetent or corrupt. He's been using company funds for personal expenses, she explained, including those motel rooms. The board of directors received copies of everything this morning. What about Bree? What about her? She was sleeping with a married man who's about to lose his job, his house, and his reputation. She chose poorly. We didn't have to wait long. Lennon and Bree arrived together, probably thinking they could intimidate me into backing down. Instead, they found themselves facing me, Reed, Aven, and 3 of Reed's construction crew members who'd volunteered to witness the final confrontation. You think this is over? Lennon demanded. You think you can destroy my life and just walk away? I didn't destroy your life, Lennon. You did that yourself when you decided to cheat on your wife with mine. This is harassment. I'll have you arrested. For what? Exposing your affair? Reclaiming my own property? Defending my marriage? Aven stepped forward then, her voice cutting through Lennon's bluster like a blade. You'll have him arrested? With what money? I froze all our accounts this morning. With what lawyer? I already retained the 3 best divorce attorneys in the county. Lennon's face went white as the implications hit him. You want to know what harassment looks like? Aven continued. It looks like using company credit cards to pay for motel rooms. It looks like promising promotions in exchange for personal favors. It looks like 15 years of marriage destroyed because you couldn't keep your pants on. Bree tried to interrupt, but Aven turned her cold stare on her. And you? You threw away a decent husband for what? A man who's about to lose everything? Congratulations on your excellent judgment. The construction crew was loving every minute of this. These were guys who'd worked hard their whole lives, watching rich people like Lennon look down on them. Seeing him brought low was better than any television show. This isn't over, Bree said, but her voice lacked conviction. Yes, it is, I replied. You made your choice. Now live with it. As they walked away, defeated and humiliated, Reed clapped me on the shoulder. So what now? I looked around the construction yard, at the honest work we did every day, at the friends who'd stood by me when everything fell apart. Now we get back to work. Some of us have real jobs to do. Aven smiled and shook my hand. It's been a pleasure working with you, Porter. Likewise. Thanks for the assist. As she drove away in her Mercedes, I realized the whole thing was finally over. Bree and Lennon had lost everything. Their jobs, their reputations, their futures together. All it had taken was one phone call and the patience to let their own choices destroy them. Sometimes the best revenge is just stepping aside and letting people face the consequences of their actions. But sometimes, it doesn't hurt to give those consequences a little push.